And welcome to Hero Power. I am your host, Avantes. And as always, I am joined by my co-hosts, Zeroshio.
Kofifi.
There you go, that's one. And Versika.
You're just getting a head shake from me.
Head shaking 3 seconds in. That might be a new record. I don't know. I have to go back and watch. Yeah. All right, guys. We
You
have.
stop cathifying and share your screen.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess you guys might want that, huh? So we've got a great show lined up for you. A little bit. Don't have a whole lot to talk about this week. It's been
We'll find a way.
It's been
We'll
a
find
rather
a
The
way.
Kathifi.
quiet week in the Hearthstone world. We've got a little bit of tournament news to talk about.
Got a
Yeah,
great
we have
email.
nothing to talk about.
We do have a
It was
great
just
email.
the playoffs.
Yeah, right. But before we get into that, Versika, why don't you tell us a little bit about our friends over at Viforce?
All right, so you guys know that we pitch Viforce every episode. We pitch Viforce because we believe in what Viforce has to offer. So here's the thing. My wife is sitting at work today, and there's a guy that she's working with that is checking out gaming computers. So she turns around, sees that he's checking out gaming computers, and she's just like, hey, you should go to ViforceGaming.com and look and see what they've got. So his first response when he goes to ViforceGaming.com and clicks over to the products is like, wow, that's a lot of computer for that price. That's pretty much what we've been telling you guys for quite a while now. So he was just like, oh, look at this. You can actually talk to them. And, oh, look at this. They say that you can customize your computer. And it's just like, we've been pitching it for so long, and we've known them for so long that sometimes it's easy to forget just how rare it is to have those things at your fingertips. So
Yep.
if you haven't gone to ViforceGaming.com yet and checked out what they have to offer, I highly recommend you do. Once again, it's ViforceGaming.com, or you can go to HeroPowerHS.com. Click on the Viforce link on the side. It'll take you right to their page. Check out their products page. I dare you to compare the specs. You're not going to find a better deal anywhere.
All right. So, we got a great email this week I want to read, and then I'm going to. It was directed at Zeroshio, so I'm going to read it, and then I will let him respond in kind.
That's not always a good thing, but in this case it is.
Says, hey guys, first of all, great show. I just wanted to provide Zeroshio with a perhaps interesting nugget of information regarding Mexico's Hearthstone Global Games team, since he's talked about them in the last couple of episodes. I'm Mexican, but it turns out I didn't really know any of the nominated players when I had to cast my vote. English-speaking streamers are more popular in YouTube, hence the ones I end up finding there. He says, I chose Epsilon for 2 reasons. One, we're from the same hometown, although I don't know her personally. And 2, I believe female players should get more opportunities and exposure. There was a small amount of drama after the Mexican team was finally announced. Not nearly as much as with the Germany's team, though, since many players, not her teammates, they do seem to have a good relationship, believed Epsi was Mexico's weakest link, either for being considered a streamer more than a pro, or just for being a female player. Ironically, as Zeroshio has very well remarked, she has seemed to be Mexico's strongest link. I'm so happy to see her succeed, and I'm also happy to see Mexican players in general getting a little bit more exposure. At least now I know more players from different countries, including mine, thanks to the global games. Anyways, just wanted to share that story with you guys. Keep up the good work, Jacob. Well, first of all, thank you, Jacob, for your kind words about the show. Thank you for listening. We greatly appreciate it. And Zeroshio, take it away.
Yeah, I've actually done a lot of research on. Well, first off, I did a lot of research on all the female players going into the Hearthstone Global Games because I thought it was really neat how some of the regions actually had some female players that were voted on. Um, Epsilon really got my attention because she had a huge fan following. Now she had a little bit of, I don't want to say this in a negative way, disrespect in the community, in the Mexican Hearthstone community, because a lot of her stream, uh, she does focus on interacting with chat, and they treat her as a cutesy streamer. Some of the Hearthstone community, obviously, she had a strong enough community within her specific stream community to get her voted on. So obviously, she has the supporting and backing. Similar to Germany, where Ponyhoff had a strong backing, but a lot of the community didn't really care for him much. Epsilon, however, through my research, I didn't find her to be cutesy at all. Obviously, she has her personality that gets her viewers in her stream, but she has always, from all the VODs I can find, had very strong play. Now, again, I do speak Spanish, and while my Spanish is a little rough, it's not the greatest. I was able to understand what her stream was about, and she does communicate with the viewers, and she talks to her chat a lot, and that can be perceived as not focusing on your Hearthstone play. But if you're a good Hearthstone player, you don't have to sit and talk through every single play. You just it just shows through your actions. And she has so far in Hearthstone Global Games as being the first player every round. She has opened up every single round, and a lot of the format for Hearthstone Global Game is your positioning, and a lot of the teams are putting their strong players in the first three slots because they want them to have a chance to play. If you get 0 and 3 and your best players in the fourth slot, then they never even have a chance to represent you. She has had to play some of the best Hearthstone players in their group, and so far is just dominated. The Mexican team is 3-1. They do have one loss, and in that loss, they lost 1-3, and she was the only win on her team. So her performance has been nothing but spectacular to me, and I'm excited to see how she does in round of 24.
Yeah, absolutely. Versika, do you have anything you want to add to this email?
Just that, one of the things that I've really been trying to do is pay attention to esports in other parts of the world. I've been having a lot of fun watching the HGC matches, and I don't speak as much Spanish as Zeroshio, but it's ever present at my works, and I've been trying to learn more as I go along. And one of the things I watched the Latin American HGC for Heroes of the Storm, and that was all in. They didn't have a translator for that one, so it was all in Spanish, and it was interesting. I didn't understand as much as I would like, but it was interesting to see how they presented that esport. But one of the things that HGG has done is sort of introduce us to maybe some of the lesser known international players that may not make it into the big tournaments, because we don't really get to see a lot of the Southeast. Hold on. Yeah, the Latin America and the Southeast Asia, we don't get to see a lot of their tournaments. So, if they don't make it to the big stage, we don't really get to see them play very much. So it's the thing that I like about Hearthstone Global Games is that we're getting to see some of these players that we may have heard of, but not necessarily gotten to watch play. And to me, I think it's a wonderful platform for them. But as a Hearthstone player, getting to see their styles and how their culture influences their ways of thinking and how they approach the game, it's very neat to see those cultural shifts and those I guess alternative ways of looking at the game. And I to me, as a viewer, that's very refreshing. It's not the same thing over and over and over. Um, like she brought that curator hunter that we had on the show. That was very neat to watch. We didn't get to see it much, and we got to see it in arguably its best matchup. But bringing that in, not knowing she was going to get Priest, she was obviously confident in the deck.
Mhm.
It's those types of innovations I think that in the end are going to make Hearthstone diverse. And if it's going to stay healthy as a game, it's got to be diverse. It's the only reason Magic has stuck around for as long as it has, is that it's diverse. And if Hearthstone wants to have that same level of success, it's going to have to continue to be diverse. And the best way to do that is to be able to include all the different cultures and all the different players from those cultures and keep it vibrant. And that's something that I think the Global Games has done a very good job of introducing into the Hearthstone community. And
Yeah.
I'm excited. I hope they do more stuff like it.
And I want to touch a little bit more on the diversity. We do have a little focus on Epsilon. She's a female Hearthstone player. We have some other female Hearthstone players that are getting some of the limelight. Chani out of Vietnam is doing really well. Obviously, wife coach, life coach's wife is playing for Austria, and she's doing really well. She's kind of the backbone of that team. Um, I I've always had an interesting stance on female the female gaming community. I think it's very important that the females are included in the community, that they're treated with respect. But I don't really want a female gamer to be known as the best female gamer, because that's not important to me. It's good that they're represented in the community. It's good that they are given the chance to succeed. But Epsilon to me is not a great female Hearthstone player. She's a great Hearthstone player. Male, female, doesn't matter. She's defeated males. She's defeated females. She's shown diversity in her deck choices. She's played Hunter really well. She's played Druid really well. She's not a one-trick pony. She has proven to be the backbone of that team. I mentioned before I'd like to see her be the anchor of not the anchor, the ace player of that team. So she has a chance to play twice because her record's so well. I had somebody point out to me that the ace player has to be the anchor, and I did find out through my research that is not accurate. You can have any of your four members be the ace player and play that fifth match if you want. And I hope going into the round of 24 they recognize that and maybe give Epsilon a chance to play in the ace matches, because she plays really good decks. She plays really well. I do like the animation that she has when she plays. And of course, I like that about all the Hearthstone players. Some of the Hearthstone players, especially out in the Asia Pacific, they'll pray whenever they have their yog go off, or they'll throw their hands up and giggle, and and that's been seen throughout the Hearthstone Global Games. I think that's because they're on the comms with the teammates and sometimes in the same room as teammates, and I really like that. And it's not just the female gamers that I like to see that. I like to see that out of all of the players for the Hearthstone Global Games. But you do notice it a little bit more out of players like Wife Coach, Chani, and Epsilon. And I think it's a very refreshing kind of refreshing environment with the Hearthstone Global Games. Epsilon, keep it up. I hope you're a listener of the show, and if you are, then just keep it up. Know that we have your support, and hope you do well until you have to face the United States and lose.
Maybe. I don't know. She's good.
Maybe.
I do want to shout out to Blizzard for their part in this as well, because last week they featured one of my favorite Hearthstone streamers on the Blizzard launcher, and that was Ali Straza. Mm-hmm. She was their featured streamer of the week, and it was good to see a female streamer up there and getting the recognition that they, like you said, they so well deserve. She's a great player, and it's always fun to watch her stream and watch her deck innovations, and so if you're not familiar with her, check her out. So
I watch 3 Hearthstone streamers consistently. I watch Savitz, I watch Tice, mostly because he's on at 4 a.m. in the morning when I'm getting ready, and I watch Ali Straza. So those are my three main streamers that if they're on, chances are I'm tuned into them in some way.
Yeah, Allie's recently changed her stream time. She's now streaming at like 8 a.m. Pacific, which is like 11 a.m. Eastern. So,
there are other female Hearthstone players in this Hearthstone Global Games, and tomorrow I believe it's Australia versus New Zealand, and Pathra is on the New Zealand team. So,
oh yeah,
again, that's part of my view on this. I think there's a total of 6 female players, but I want them to prove themselves as good, solid Hearthstone players and not just solid female Hearthstone players, because I don't think that gives them the respect they need just by focusing on their gender. I'd rather focus on their gameplay. And some of the female players have stood out to be some of the best Hearthstone players in this global games.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Thank you for the email, Jacob. We greatly appreciate it. Like I said, we love to hear from you guys out in the community. You never know. It sparks great conversations, and we love to just chat about whatever you guys are interested in having us chat about. So, all right. That brings us to our first topic of the week, which is this past weekend was the HCT Americas Spring Playoffs. And we had talked about this a little bit. We've actually talked about it a lot in the last few weeks. A couple weeks ago, we had QWERTY on. And then last week we had Andrew from Happy Hearthstone. And it's all kind of built up to, we saw Europe have such a dominant Final Four going to Shanghai. How were the Americas going to do? Well, this past weekend, we got to see 72 players whittled down to our top 4 who will be representing the Americas. Those 4 are Diego Diaz, Ant, Kuonet, and Muzzy.
Oh, yeah.
Now, of those, I personally was only familiar with Ant and Muzzy. They're 2 pretty well-known players. Diego is from Brazil, I do believe. And I think Kuonet is from that area as well, but I'm not 100% sure. No, actually...
No, Kuonet is from the United States.
Yeah, he's from California, I think.
I think he's originally... If I'm remembering this correctly, he's originally from Korea, but he is a citizen of the United States and lives here.
That is correct. Yeah. You're right. You're right. I was mixing him up with somebody else. So okay.
There were 2 Brazilian players in the top 8.
Okay.
And that was the one thing to note is Brazil, and actually Argentina as well. Argentina had 1 person in the top 8, and Brazil had 2. They made a really good showing, which we haven't really seen since Snail last year, who came out of the Hearthstone Tavern Hero pool and made it into the actual prelims at the time, which are now known as the playoffs. So it's really good to see Brazil in the South American contingency, which that community is getting huge. Copa America is a South American tournament that they do. It's an open cup, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and we're going to start seeing more South American players rise to the top, I believe.
Yeah, I think you're probably correct. So we had our Final Four. We came down to the finals, saw Kuonet versus Muzzy. And congratulations to Muzzy on getting his first playoff win, finally.
Can we talk about Muzzy for a minute?
Zeroshio, why don't you talk about Muzzy for a minute?
Okay, so Muzzy has had the moniker that Chalky had for a while, always a bridesmaid, never a bride. And he's always come really close, made it to like top 9, just out of the running, or top, gets to the semifinals and loses. He's always come just short. He's really been touted as being a very competitive player and a very good practice partner. But Sottl, one of the casters out of the European market, kind of referred to him as a choke artist, where Muzzy does really well, gets right up to the point where he's going to qualify, and he chokes. And when he won, the first thing he said to Sottl was, "Did I choke there, Sottl?" So I think Muzzy had something to prove. He wanted to prove that he could focus enough and concentrate his plays to win a major tournament, a major qualifying tournament. Not just make the top 4 and get to Shanghai, but come out as that playoffs champion. And he did it. And he did it with flair, very dominating plays. There were a few situations where it looked like it was not going to work out for him, but he just kind of calmed down. You could see him kind of focus and breathe, and he just took it. And I think this may be the year of the Muzzy, because I've followed Muzzy for a very long time. He's a very good player, but I've never seen him this focused. And I think he has a chip on his shoulder, something to prove, and he might end up being the champion overall. I think he's going to go Shanghai and dominate.
Okay. Versika, did you get a chance to watch? I know you were out of town most of the holiday weekend, but did you get a chance to watch any of the tournament?
I was channeling my inner Nat Pagel. I actually did
fishing
all day.
Oh, okay.
3 days in a row.
Yeah, be stuck there.
But yeah, so I came back, and I was actually out Sunday morning. I watched most of the highlights from Saturday, and of course, Muzzy brought a very Versika-esque deck selection. So from the time I saw his deck selection, I knew who I wanted to win, and it made me happy to see that deck list go undefeated. But I think it goes to show that those he played them almost perfectly, and you can't bring lists like that and not play them at an extremely high level and win with it. They are very unforgiving. You have to be on point. You have to be able to predict what your opponent is going to play, the order in which they're going to play the decks. You have to know that list and know what you're waiting for. It was very impressive to watch Muzzy navigate through not only some really great Hearthstone players, but when you look at those lists, there were some very varied lists there that he took those decks and had to handle. And knowing your matchup, knowing what, for instance, he brought the Giants Miracle Rogue that we're going to play tonight. Knowing how that list played against the various deck styles is really, really, really important, because you not only have to know how your list interacts with all those, but you have to know how your opponent's list interacts with your list. And that just comes from a lot of practice, very good anticipation, and just outright strategy. And I feel like that's something that Hearthstone has been missing for so long. It's been just try and outpace your opponent for as long as I can really remember in competitive play since they went to the Conquest format. Muzzy's lineup didn't do that. Muzzy's lineup set out to establish board presence, to control his opponent through having to make his opponent react to his reaction. And that's important, because he wasn't forcing his opponent to just react to him. He was forcing his opponent to react to what he could do. And that's something that that's the element I feel like has been missing from competitive play since we went from last hero standing over to the conquest format. So it was really cool to see that. And if the other players don't innovate before they come to Shanghai, and Muzzy brings this kind of play, I think Muzzy has a very good shot of taking it all.
Yeah, this was the tournament of control matchups. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
This was a very control heavy tournament, and you saw that in some of the casters' tweets this weekend. They would start at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, and they'd still be going at like 11 o'clock Eastern that night. And
you're talking 3-hour matches.
Yeah, it was really crazy to see all the control. I loved it. Don't get me wrong. I love a control oriented meta more than I do an aggro centric meta. Because I love to see these guys actually outthink themselves, trying to outthink the other player and not just go face.
Yeah, and you're seeing that on the ladder right now because last 2 days of the month, yesterday and today, I kind of hit a wall at rank 2 5 stars, and I set up my control lineup to kind of focus on let's get these aggro that's pushing the last of the month. And all I'm seeing is control. I'm seeing priest, I'm seeing paladin, I'm seeing control shaman, and it's very difficult to go up the ladder right now. And I'm loving it. I haven't had so much fun not getting legend in a long time because it's frustrating because I think I have the ability, but at the same time, I love seeing all the diverse decks. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about the players that didn't make the top 4 going to Shanghai. We had some great performances out of Qwerty, who's a friend of the show. Ray C did really well. He stuck up in the top 10 for a long time. And we had quite a few players that competed really well and just came short. I did see mention in our chat, and I'm going to get a little controversial here for a minute. I'm going to throw the gauntlets down, but I think Amnesiac has – I think he goes into tournaments thinking he has to win because he's Amnesiac. He's a young savage. I'm just going to go in there and just defeat everybody and take it. And he needs to get that out of his system. He's a fabulous Hearthstone player. He's proven it in the past, but I think his own ego is getting the best of him. And I think he went 0-2 right out the bat. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong on that, but I know he got 2 losses pretty quickly. He needs to regroup, refocus. I know he's talked before that he doesn't do a lot of practice, that he practices in quality and not quantity. He does solid practice instead of a lot of practice, and he focuses more on his real life. If he's wanting to take this seriously, maybe he needs to put in more practice.
Well, and you're correct. He actually tweeted Saturday, nailed it, LMAO, with a screenshot of him at 0-2, and then he posted, said I've had a pretty fortunate run for it to take me this long to end up 0-2 at an event, and I played sick in both my matches, so nothing to hang my head about.
Well, here's the thing, and it's good that he's not getting down on it, and I commend him for that. But at the same time, if he ever wants to prove that he's better than Pavel or any of these other young players coming up, he just needs to get on it.
Yeah, of course, his very next tweet was calling out Kibler because during one of the matches, Kibler said Muzzy looked nervous, and Amnesiac was like, "Kibler, don't you dare call my boy Muzzy nervous." He's like,
well, and here's the thing, Muzzy did look nervous throughout the entire tournament. Muzzy looked nervous, but Muzzy also had a nervous focus about him. In the past, he's gotten nervous, and you literally see the sweat bead, and he'd get this defeatist kind of slump in his shoulders. He didn't do that this time. He realized he had to focus when he got in that nervous slump, and he just powered through it. That's the type of focus that it takes to make it to Shanghai and take the seasonal playoffs. And to not get away from what I was talking about, Muzzy's battled back and found that focus. Amnesiac needs to do that next season, which I believe is what, last call
I believe so. Yeah.
or summer? No, we still have summer coming up,
Yeah.
don't we?
Yeah. We're
Yeah.
just starting.
So summer's coming up.
Speaking of Summer Tavern Hero qualifying season starts today.
Segue.
No real segue. I just wanted to bring that up.
Well,
Yeah.
here's what I think everyone needs to understand is that you're never going to take the chance element out of Hearthstone. That's part of what makes it what it is. And Magic has survived with it for forever. Poker has survived with it for forever. You can still have strategy and chance in the correct and healthy balance that it needs to be. And one of the things about this meta compared to what we've been in is that this meta did not. You don't have aggro running away with this meta like you have in the past. It's still very prevalent, and we saw that in the European Championships or the playoffs. It's still very prevalent. You still have to tech for it. You still have to respect it. But that's the first sign of a balanced meta is when all of the archetypes are competitive. That's when, and right now they are, and that's the first time we've had that for a long time.
Eight out of the 9 classes are competitive.
So
which we haven't seen that in a long time.
You will start to see the better Hearthstone players start to come to the top because now it's not a card advantage. Now it is a strategy advantage, and that's important. It's an important element.
And just so I don't get off of my focus on my topic, Amnesiac did really well last season during a weak meta, in my opinion. And he figured out the meta and won. I think, and I've said this before, and it hasn't been very popular, I think Amnesiac is overrated. And when I've said that, I've had a lot of people tell me, well, he's young. Well, out in Europe, you don't hear them say he's young when Pavel loses or when George C. loses or when Hunter Ace loses. They just don't talk about it. They lost. They were a Hearthstone player that came up short. But every time Amnesiac comes up short, he's young. He has to learn life a little bit better. Maybe he just needs to focus on Hearthstone if he wants to be one of the best. And I think he's capable of being one of the best Hearthstone players, not only in America, but in the world. I just think he has lost focus, and it could be because of his maturity level, him being younger. But if he wants to focus on being one of the best Hearthstone players, he needs to practice, he needs to get with a good team, and he just needs to focus.
Yeah. I mean...
And off my soapbox.
What did you think about it? Well, normally Zeroshi and I talk about this, but this is something that I feel like not only we have the time tonight for you to really get in and share your opinion, but this is something that we have all been coming at in different directions for a while now. What did you think about this first tournament, the first major tournament in the Angoro meta?
So
NA. We had the
first
EU
NA
playoffs,
tournament in the Angoro meta. First major.
Now that the EU and NA have both done their playoffs, what do you think about the overall? What do you think about the overall state of where we are in competitive Hearthstone?
I feel like it's in the best spot it's been in probably the last year and a half to 2 years. You have you're not relegated to these are the 3 or 4 decks that are going to be competitive. We talked about this a little bit on the show last week going into this past weekend that there were like 18 or 20 different deck archetypes. Different deck types that were submitted coming into this. It is the most diverse meta we've had since probably post Nax.
Yep. 14 different deck types in the top 8.
Yeah, and that just tells me Blizzard I feel like Blizzard is doing a good thing. They've got Hearthstone in a good place. When you can have all these different deck types and be competitive, that's what you want. You don't want all 72 of your players playing the same four decks like we saw in spring last year.
Right.
Yep.
And it's taken them a little bit of time to get here. And for some people, and for sometimes us included, we've not been particularly patient, because one thing that we know about Blizzard to be a hard and fast fact is that they do things on their timeline,
Yeah.
period. You will not pressure them out of that timeline regardless of what's going on. They have a plan. They're going to execute that plan. And because they know what's coming up, sometimes what seems to be like a lack of action on their part, or a weird or strange action on their part, is actually strange now, but in 3 months or 6 months, it'll make sense. And maybe we're starting to actually see Standard finally take hold and do what it was designed to do in the first place.
Yeah, and I've said that before. We just need to give it time. Everybody likes to compare what Hearthstone should be to what Magic the Gathering did in the competitive scene. God, remember, Magic the Gathering didn't really get into their prime competitive scene until 5 or 6 years down from their original release. So, and we're what 3-4 years out since beta, and they were doing competitive play during beta back in 2013. I think that they're doing a good job. I think having the 3 sets a year is going to do nothing but strengthen the format of Standard. It's going to give you larger pools of cards to pull out of. I love them where they're at now. The fact that you have so many different deck archetypes within classes that normally didn't have more than one when they were popular. Priest. There are 3 different types of competitive priest decks right now. And there's that Lyra kind of miracle priest. There is the new dragon / miracle priest. And then there's the purify priest, which is a thing now. Ben Brode said purify priest is going to be a thing, and it's a thing. They know what they're doing. They know what they're talking about. I'm really excited for the future and maybe new sets coming out. I've been doing some digging. I think we're going to have a set in July. I'm still sleuthing. I don't have any hard evidence yet, but I'm seeing some moving of domains, and the gears are turning. I think we're going to have an announcement in June for the new set coming out. I still predict it's going to be Dalaran focused, but regardless, whatever it is, I think it's going to be great. I'm excited.
Well, we had also talked, about Ungoro's impact on the meta and the other cards rotating out. And I'd said back when we were talking about it that I was trying to reserve judgment until after the playoffs. I wanted to see if Ungoro affected the meta as heavily as we thought it was going to before I really came out and said, yes, this has had the desired impact, or no, Blizzard didn't do enough and we still have all these issues. There are still some things that I would like to see Blizzard change because of the way Hearthstone works. But for the most part, I feel like what they have done with what they have is they're steps in the right direction.
Yes.
And as long as they keep heading in this right direction, I feel like Standard is going to do what they want it to do. And Neonic in chat was talking about, keep in mind this is the first full rotation with a truly fresh meta. And he's exactly right. Ungoro is the first expansion where you have had a truly fresh, full rotation of everything that came before it. So we are getting to see Standard in its infancy right now. Like before, it was still in the womb. It was still being cooked. Hadn't taken its first breath yet. Ungoro was its first breath, and we're starting to see it start to grow. And this is what we've been waiting for. So really, time will tell. But these playoffs, like you said, it's been the most intriguing playoffs, I would say, since I watched it in 2015, really 2014 even. But I would say 2015 was probably the most enjoyable watching experience. So now that this is where it's going, if we get a new set in July, that means that it's all going to shake up again before summer, before the summer playoffs, and that could be even better than this time. So
Yeah,
it's definitely watch and see mode.
I agree.
And I think Year of the Mammoth is perfect because they've made mammoth changes, and Ngoro has had a mammoth impact on the meta. And I can't wait to see what else we have. Two more full sets this year of probably 135 plus cards. So we're looking at close to 300 new cards. When you start breaking down other effects that are variables that make one card like 3 or 4 different cards in different decks, you're gonna see some major changes, and I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Hearthstone's in a great spot.
I agree. All right, so that brings us on. Moving on to our next topic, which is actually what we talked a little bit about in this week's email, the Hearthstone Global Games update. This week we are in week 8 of the Global Games, so that means stage 1 of the Global Games is coming to an end, and I believe the last stage 1 matches are scheduled for June 13th through the 15th, and at this time we have 3 teams that are 4-0. Is that Zerotio?
That's correct. As of today, Italy went into their match today 3-0 with the possibility of going to 4-0. And they, if I'm not mistaken, I missed the end of it, but I want to say they won 3-0. And I'm trying to see if I can find that.
It's not been updated on Reddit yet.
It hasn't been updated, but they if I'm not mistaken, it was either a 3-0 or a 3-1 victory today. Again, we'll update that as we get more, but they did win out today, and you're starting to see some of the cream rise to the top. Most of the teams still have one more game left. Malaysia's the only one that I see here that's completed all 5, and they're 4-1 right now, so they're sitting in a good spot. United States is 4-0 with really good victory match wins, 12-5, so they should hold that position even if they lose their last match. Netherlands would literally have to 3-0, and the United States would have to 0-3, and even in that case, we win the tiebreaker because we beat Netherlands. So looks like the United States has locked in that top spot. I'm really excited for the round of 24, and we're seeing some really good Hearthstone out of countries that we wouldn't expect to, like Mexico and Taiwan. Czech Republic has done really well in a division dominated by Ukraine and what we expected to be Croatia. That Group H, the top teams are Ukraine at 4-0, Czech Republic at 3-1, Croatia, who we expected to have a good performance, at 2-3, and they finished their 5 matches. I didn't notice that. And then Belarus, who was expected to do really well, is only 1-2. And that's also the division with Germany, who's 1-3. Now, there's been some drama with Germany with the Ponyhoff situation where he was voted in, but they didn't want him in, and then he ended up being disqualified and replaced. And now life coach has moved on to professional Gwent, so we don't know how seriously he's taken this. I haven't seen any matches since that was announced, so I don't even know if he's still in the Hearthstone Global Games or not. I haven't seen them play. They still have 1 match left, but they're out of it. They're 1-3 now with the 5-9 match record. So I'm really excited for the round of 24. I think we're going to see some great Hearthstone, and I love where competitive Hearthstone esports is right now.
Yeah, Rosika?
I'm feel like we covered most of this with the email, but
Yeah.
I feel like the Global Games has been really good for Hearthstone. I feel like the combination of the Global Games and the um, especially the NA playoffs this last weekend, I feel like it's really putting on a show of what Ungoro and Standard has done for the meta. I'm excited to see what's going to come from a Wild meta, where maybe some things start to come out like an HGG with Wild, and see what these other countries and regions that we haven't really gotten to see can come up with, kind of play around with it. But for the most part, I feel like this is something they should definitely invest in. And I know that that's hard to say because I'm not the one putting the money out, and I know that the playoffs are expensive, and I know that multiple tournaments, time and viewerships hard. And it's funny because my wife and I were talking this weekend. She's just like, I feel like there's a tournament on every weekend. Well, really, right now, there pretty much is a tournament on every weekend. And I mean, I'm getting, Play Hearthstone as live updates in the middle of the night, and while I'm at work, and it's just like I get home and I'm trying to find the VODs, and it's hard to keep up with it all. But that's a good thing. That's a variety. I get to come home as someone who can't watch it during the day, and it allows me to really sit down and kind of pick and choose what I want to watch. And I actually have a variety of things to watch. Like right now, my backlog is huge of things that I just want to watch before they become irrelevant to the meta. So it's a good problem to have, and I feel like HGG has been a big part of why Hearthstone is getting the international publicity that it's getting right now.
Oh yes,
it's like the Olympics for Hearthstone, as far as people pulling for their country's team and really getting their country's pride behind it, and that's a good thing when you're able to instill that kind of pride into something. That's a good sign of where the game both is and where it's going. And so I hope HGG sticks around and we get to see another one, maybe next time in Wild. I'm not a huge fan of playing Wild, but I'll watch it. I'll watch it all day long. So
yeah. All right. So that brings us to this week's Tavern Brawl, which is a 6-peat in the Randomonium. I believe it's the first Tavern Brawl we've seen repeated 6 times. So,
yep.
Nothing really exciting to talk about there.
I mean, the exciting part is I think it's the first time Randomoniums came out since Ungoro.
Yeah.
So you get some of the Ungoro cards in there, and I don't mind repeats as long as Ungoro offers a different feel, and it does. But basically, in every game I won or lost, it's whoever got Ragnaros or Ragnaros Light Lord out on turn 2, and they won the game.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
I got Hogger, the new Hogger, Scourge of Elwyn or whatever, out on turn 2 or turn 3. So yeah. All right, let's talk about this week's deck. And we talked about Muzzy making top 4 and winning at HCT, but one of the things he talked about in his post-win interview was when he was play testing with all of his friends, he felt like Rogue was in a really strong place. And a lot of people, a lot of his play team, his playmates and testing partners were saying that they felt like Quest Rogue was where he needed to go, or he needed to bring a different class. Well, Muzzy felt that Miracle Rogue was one of the strongest decks in the environment. And he proved it. He brought Miracle Rogue, and as you can see, he went 10-0. He did not lose a single match in Swiss. He didn't lose through the single elimination brackets, and he was the only one to do that. So this week, we are actually going to be talking about Muzzy's Miracle Rogue deck that he played this weekend. So I will give the rundown, and then we'll talk about the deck a little bit. And then we'll play it. So this deck had 2 backstabs, 2 counterfeit coins, 2 preparations, 6 cards that cost 0 mana, 2 hallucinations, Patches the Pirate, 2 swashbucklers, Blood Mage Thalnos, 2 eviscerates, 1 Razor Petal Lasher, Edwin Van Cleef, 2 Fan of Knives, 2 Mimic Pods, 1 Questing Adventurer, 1 Shaku the Collector, 1 SI7 Agent, Sherazin Corpse Flower, 2 Valspine Slayers, 2 Gadget Zan Auctioneers, and 2 Arcane Giants. Now, his deck is a little different from a lot of the traditional Miracle Rogues that you see, because a lot of the traditional Miracle Rogues run Cold Blood to for that burst damage there towards the end, or
And to
right,
activate the auctioneer.
exactly, and to activate the auctioneer, or to some of them I've even seen running Leroy, but
Yeah.
he instead opts to run Shaku the Collector and Questing Adventurer. Now, Questing Adventurer is a little more common in some other Miracle Rogues, but post Ungoro, you hadn't seen a whole lot of it. So I was kind of glad to see him come back to that with this deck. And of course, the object is to, play. There's so many spells in this deck that, you want to get out the Arcane Giants for as little to no cost as possible. You could theoretically cast them for 0 and use them as activators for Valspine Slayer or Questing Adventurers or anything like that. So that's kind of the point of the deck, is just kind of control the board, get out big minions fast. If you can get a 10-10, it is theoretically possible to get a 10-10 Van Cleef on like turn 2 if you have the right cards in hand. So, and I have been playing a lot of Miracle Rogue since Ungoro came out, and coin Van Cleef concede is a thing. So I've seen it happen. I last night I was playing a game and got out a 10-10 Van Cleef on turn 4, and my opponent couldn't deal with it. He just conceded. But yeah, we've actually talked about Miracle Rogue on the show in the past. We had Bloody Face come on and talk about it. So what are your guys' take on this version of Miracle Rogue, or just the post-Ungoro Miracle Rogue in general? Versika, we'll start with you.
I love the inclusion of Mimic Pod in Miracle Rogue. I feel like of all the cards that Ungoro brought to the table, Mimic Pod and Sherazin, which I have to admit I was not a fan of Sherazin coming into the expansion. I have since then changed my opinion of the card. The other thing that I really like about this list, and it was a card that I was high on that a lot of people said was too expensive, is the Valspine Slayers. I love having that built-in assassinate and putting a body on the board at the same time. I feel like that's great value. I feel like between this deck and the Quest Rogue deck, while the Quest Rogue deck, when it goes off, is really hard to handle, there is the chance that it just doesn't go off. It's very draw dependent. You can maximize your likelihood of drawing something, but for the most part, you're still ultimately dependent on your opponent's board state and when you draw. This, I feel like you actually play the game. You're not just playing against yourself and waiting to draw what you need and being able to bounce what you back. You actually have to interact with your opponent, which forces you to strategize and forces you to play Hearthstone at a high level in order to win. And I feel like at least in my opinion, that's better for any player, because the more they play decks like this, the better they get at the game, and that makes the people around them better, and it's a trickle down effect. So I'm a huge fan of Ungoro Miracle Rogue, and actually I'm starting an experiment. In fact, most of you probably haven't seen me on ladder much this cycle because I'm going down to level 25 on purpose, and I'm going to start June 1st. I'm going to start playing nothing but Miracle Rogue and see how far I can get by the end of the season. I've went ahead and decided, I mean, just come to terms with the fact that I'm not going to complete any of my quests. I'm not going to play any casual. It's going to be 3 to 5 games per day of Miracle Rogue for at least 5 of the 7 days of the week. And I'll just want to see how far I can get. I have a bet going with a guy I work with who doesn't think you can be successful at Hearthstone without putting money in it anymore. So I picked this deck because he has most of the core cards, and the cards that he doesn't have, he can craft fairly easily. So we're gonna see if I can take the free to play Hearthstone challenge and take it from 25 up without investing a lot of dust or money into the game, and see how far I can get by the end of the season. So this was the deck that I chose to do it with. My version is slightly different. I don't have patches in it because of the cost, and I actually replaced it with a second SI7 agent. So that's my only difference in the list that I'm going to be running for this challenge versus what we're playing tonight.
Nice. Zeroshio, what are your thoughts on Miracle Rogue and where it is right now?
Well, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry, had an issue with my audio. Here's the thing that I noticed about this specific list and seeing it played. Edwin Van Cleef is not your end-all, be-all kill shot in this deck. A lot of times, if you neutralize the Edwin in Miracle Rogue and can keep yourself out of the Leroy Jenkins combo range, then you're fine. You're golden. Well, Edwin, a lot of times Edwin is to bait your big removal so that your Arcane Giants and some of your more stickier minions stay on there. And Mimic Potting into an Arcane Giant is just ridiculous, because if they've had to use removal on your Edwin Van Cleef, and then you now have 3 Arcane Giants as threat, 8/8 minions, what you gonna do? I mean, it's so threat dense. You just have to. The hardest part is just. I know you have some issues with Burn Mage, because basically at one point you're putting so much threat down, they go, you know what? I'm just going to keep freezing your board or putting up ice blocks and just burning your face. That's the only real big threat I found for this deck. Other than that, it's an amazing deck, and using your hallucinations and your swashbucklers to get you more tools to keep yourself alive. I know in some cases I've seen this deck pull an ice block and use the ice block themselves to then buy an extra turn for those giants. I'm excited to play this. I'm not a big rogue player. Rogue is one of my 2 classes I don't have golden and I want to play more of. So I'm really excited to see this, and I think I'm going to start playing it.
So I was playing this deck last night, and I took a screenshot I want to share. You were talking about hallucination and Shaku being in this deck. I want to share this screenshot with you guys. You might not be able to see it, but my hand is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards, 2 of which are rogue. The other 6 belong to the warrior that I was playing.
Wow.
Including a Gromosh, 2 Alley Armor Smiths, and a Malkarok. So this deck can be a ton of fun if, played just, it's so much fun to just... one of my favorite things in Hearthstone is to play a deck where I'm playing with your cards, not mine.
Yeah.
So, all right. That's, I think, going to bring us to our last thoughts on this week's show. Zeroshio, what do you got?
I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. Esports is really exciting right now. Um, I'm really excited to see where the summer season gets us. We've had some questions in chat about the Tavern Hero qualifiers. We are starting to schedule those. We did get a go ahead from Blizzard to go ahead and start planning those Tavern Hero qualifiers. So more news will be out on our Facebook groups for our local players in the East Tennessee area. Um, I'm excited for DreamHack. I'm going to pull a Metal Dan from Hearth Coach and mention DreamHack probably every episode between now and the end of July. DreamHack's coming up in Atlanta, July 21st through 23rd. If you're going, come down, say hi. You won't be able to miss me. I'll probably be the loudest person there. I'll have Hero Power banners. Just come say hi, have fun, and yeah, that's it. I'm excited for DreamHack.
All right. Rustika.
Once again, I'm excited for DreamHack as well. I do want to remind everybody though that it's the summer months, so just because you don't see people on and around as much as you used to doesn't mean that they're fading out of the scene. Summer tends to be busy for a lot of people, so don't get discouraged if you look on there and see maybe your friends list isn't as active as it was a month ago, and don't be afraid to reach out and ask. Like I had someone ask me this past week if I was tired of Hearthstone because I wasn't in it as much, and no, that's not the case at all. May ended up being a very busy month for me, and I've been in other games. Overwatch is really great right now. They just finished up a great event. They have their anniversary coming this week. Mm-hmm. Heroes is in a great spot right now with their 2.0 and going into the playoffs of HGC, and WoW right now is actually in a really great spot too. I'm not actively playing WoW at the moment, but I've still been keeping up on it. And if you're a fan of Chromie, she's got a big part to play in this newest patch. And Diablo's season is going strong, and it's a good time to be part of Blizzard Esports right now. But also life outside of gaming, it's happening right now too. Vacations and a lot of travel happens in the summer. So like I said, if you look up and you're used to seeing your friends list having 75 active people on it, and suddenly you're looking up and there's 12, don't get discouraged. This is the time of year when life happens so much more outside. In fact, when we did our previous show, when Avantes and I did a previous podcast, we actually took the months of June and July off because it was so hectic to get guests on shows and to get everybody together to do the things that we needed to do to make the show great. So it was just easier to take those 2 months off than it was to actually try and corral everybody and herd all the kittens into the same corral, So you just, like I said, be patient. If you look up and you're wondering where everybody went, there is this great big ball of fission outside, and some people go outside and look at it from time to time and go check out the baseball games. And,
it's evil.
I mean, right now right now in Tennessee, we're super excited because the Predators are playing in the Stanley Cup Finals. So, it could be, as some of the seasons are finishing up, people are watching more sports and, maybe watching more esports. And, we have our vacations coming up and DreamHack coming up. It's summertime and it's in full swing. So just keep that in mind before you go ditching a bunch of people off your friends list and thinking that Blizzard Esports is on the decline. It's more than likely just some people working on their tans. Yes, those exist too.
I do want to add one more thing. I'm not beyond eating a little crow when I'm wrong.
What?
Buffalo Wild Wings hosted a lot of venues in the United States for the spring playoffs. And so far from what I found, and I have been digging for bad reviews, I have heard nothing but positive reviews on how both Blizzard and the Innkeepers, as well as Buffalo Wild Wings, has made the venue as comfortable and inviting and enjoyable as the players could possibly want. The few negative reviews I saw really was more on the players than on the venues or Blizzard at all. So, you know, I'm excited for this partnership. I know a lot of players really like the fact that when they were knocked out, they could just turn around, have a drink, eat some wings, and not have to go somewhere to console themselves for being knocked out of the playoffs. So, for that, I commend Blizzard and Buffalo Wild Wings on a job well done.
And I'll second that because I was to say I was skeptical would be putting it mildly. So, once again, it appears that everything went the way that Blizzard had hoped, and that's a good thing. If you've got a partner willing to work with you that can provide these venues and do it at a way that is good for the game and healthy for the competitive scene, then if you can find that marriage and make it work, then
there you go.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for us this week. If you are joining us on Twitch or YouTube, please stay tuned for the live play portion of our show. If you are listening via our audio podcast, we'd like to thank you for joining us at this time. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at HeroPower_cast, and you can find all of our past episodes on YouTube at youtube.com/ECMMOgamers or on our website at HeroPowerHS.com. If you enjoy the show and you would like to help support and improve it, you can do so by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/HeroPower. And we will see you again next week.
And don't forget to use your hero power.
Alrighty. While we are
thumbs up.
While we're getting set up to play this this Miracle Rogue deck, Versika, tell us a little bit more about our friends at Viforce.
All right. Well, I know we're running long, so I'll keep it pretty quick because I pretty much said most of what I wanted to talk about at the start of the audio portion, and that was just it's easy to forget how great a deal as far as overall value that Viforce Gaming offers. So if it's been a while since you've been to their website, go to the website, check it out. Take a real good look at what they have to offer. And if you're not interested, if you are set with your gaming machines and you have everything that you want, or where you're going with it, go out and tell your friends about it. Most of us have other friends that play video games on their computers as well, or maybe you got someone who's console only and looking to make that PC change. Go tell them about Viforce. You're only helping them out, and you're only saving them time and hassle and money.
I'm gonna hijack you.
Hijack me.
Because my Viforce computer is almost painted. If you're in our Patreon Discord, you've seen the wonderful paint jobs my artist has done. I've been really excited that I'm gonna get that case back this week, by the end of the week, get it to Viforce, and be able to have my computer assembled and to me within the next, hopefully, week to 2 weeks. But I was wrong, because I contacted Viforce to meet up so we can exchange a case this weekend, and has told me that again, this is a special consideration because I live close, but this is the level of customer service they have. They've told me they can have my computer to me within 24 to 48 hours. So that is amazing level of customer service that they don't have to do. These type of companies don't have to do this. You send them your equipment, and usually it's a week to 2 week assembly, but they are bending over backwards, not just because I'm with Hero Power. That's just how their customer service is. So not only do you get a great price over at ViforceGaming.com, you get great customer service. And make sure you go to HeroPowerHS.com, click on the Viforce link, take you right to their site, and make sure that you let them know that Hero Power sent you.
All right. There you go.
Take us away.
Let's.
Are you driving?
Yeah, I'm gonna
Who's driving?
I'm gonna drive.
All right.
I am finding an opponent. All right. The Huffy Hunter. No, wait. Worthy opponent.
The Huffy Hunter.
Oh, but we are
They-
playing a hunter.
I do
And
it.
our opening hand is Swashbuckler Preparation Gadget Zan Auctioneer. So here, personally, I think we keep the Swashbuckler and throw the other two back. What are your guys' thoughts?
I agree completely.
Yeah, the prep. We want the prep later. And as for the Huffy Hunter, I knew a guy in the Marine Corps we called the Huffy Hunter, but for a totally different reason.
All right, so we draw into Arcane Giant and Shaku the Collector.
Oh wow! And the counterfeit coin.
And into the counterfeit coin. So I think we're just going to Swashbuckler here into patches, hit face, and pass turn.
Yep.
Oh, and we get a
And this is-
Tolvir Warden.
That's. What are the one drops? Do we? We don't really have any one drops in this deck.
With
do
the
we?
other Swashbuckler.
We have one other
Well,
Swashbuckler.
the other Swashbuckler.
Yep.
And we've already got patches out of the deck, so that's actually not going to be bad.
Yep.
You're probably going to see
Alley Cat,
Alley Cat or maybe Fiery Bat.
Jewel McCall.
Jewel McCall. That's actually probably the best thing for us
Yeah.
to see because
So
we can deal with
I'm
it.
thinking turn 2, we just hero power, attack one, kill the other, and go face. What do you think?
I don't know. I like the Shaku here.
The thing about playing Shaku here is that he could clear and then deadly shot Shaku.
Yeah, I was thinking
That's true.
Shaku next turn, and then on turn 4, if we don't draw anything, we coin into the Tolvir Warden.
and get us a Swashbuckler.
Correct.
Yeah.
I like
I
that
like-
line.
I like using patches and hero power to clear.
Yeah, and we developed the weapon too, which will help us for the next minion he drops, which will probably have 1 or 2 health. I think he was really hoping something would stick for the Razor Crackle Maul,
Yes,
Crackling Razor Maul.
Razor Maul, yeah. That's usually the strong turn 2 for Hunter.
That
I would
or
expect to see a hero power here.
Hyena, yeah. You got to really watch out for those hyenas. That's some dangerous stuff.
Kindly Grandmother. So I think we're going to ignore the Kindly for the moment. Play Shaku and attack face.
I wouldn't attack with the weapon.
Right, hold on to the weapon charge.
But we kind of lucked out. This is probably going to be a trade with. He's probably going to bring out the hyena.
What would say trade deadly shot?
I don't know. I think you're going to see a hyena get developed here. Oh no,
Stubborn Gastropod. Okay.
which he almost has to trade the Swashbuckler
Correct.
so that we can't just get rid of that gastropod. I really think he has a hyena in his hand. The way he keeps hovering over one card, and the Vowels.
That's a Jewel McCall card.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's the 4th
Yeah.
card.
I think you counterfeit coin into Vile Spine here.
And kill the Gastropod.
Yep. And then Shaku to face.
I like that.
Okay. Makes him make a choice on his trades, whether he wants to get rid of our Shaku value or try to get rid of the Vile Spine Slayer. I worry we're not going to have the Vile Spine Slayer for like a hyena.
We got a freezing trap off the
That's
Shaku.
actually really good.
He's going to Hound Master and then kill
Into the Vile Spine.
And no,
Oh
into
no, he's going to
Shaku.
kill. Oh. He thought about it.
Yeah. So, what do you guys think about Blood Mage, Fan of Knives, kill off the Hound Master with our
The
weapon,
Hound Master.
and then go face with the Valspine.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, it was a really good draw. Oh, into hallucination. That's going to be good.
This also really starts working on that Arcane Jaunt.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does. We need to get that Tolvir Warden out as soon as we can to get value from drawing the Swashbuckler.
Yeah, I was gonna say whatever he plays next turn, we could Tolvir Warden and Hallucination, or Hallucination Tolvir Warden. You would always want to cast the Hallucination first, but
we could also Tolvir and cast the Swashbuckler.
Yeah, that was my thought. We do the Swashbuckler. It's the same effect with a body.
Okay. So there's the Alley Cat into the Razor Maw, and he's getting Deadly Spores.
Which isn't too bad if we can get the other fan.
All right.
I still say Tolvir into.
I think so too. And then
Swashbuckler.
I would clear everything except for the buffed Tabby Cat.
Yep.
I know you're not supposed to kill the cute kitten, according to Brian
such
Kibler.
a good draw.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, it's a great draw.
Yeah, it really is. So
All right.
we're gonna Valspine into the Razor Maw,
Mm-hmm.
and Blood Mage into the Alley Cat.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we draw a counterfeit coin and we can toss out hallucination. Nope.
We draw
Second
the second hallucination. So
that works.
that's not terrible. He will more than likely run Cute Cat into the 3/1 to remove it, which will spawn 2 1/1s.
Yep. And he got the Savannah Highmane, but the Sherazin actually challenges that really well. We need to get the Sherazin out before we develop Gadgetzan.
So what do you think about hero power? Kill one of the 1/1s. Run the pirate into the other. Hit 3 to face. Develop the freezing trap.
Well, the problem with that is...
Sherazin. Well,
Hold
we
on.
can't do that. That's too much.
Hold on,
Yeah,
I got an alternate line.
Okay.
What
Yeah.
about Eaglehorn freezing trap, and then play the hallucination to see what we get, but then clear the 2 1/1s with what we've got on the board, so that his only choice is to really attack with the Highmane, so that if he pops the freezing, he's got to cast Highmane again.
And we get an extra charge from the bow. That's
Right.
better than... I was going to use Sherazin instead of the bow, but I like this line better.
All right. So we're
use...
gonna clear the
Clear
board
with our 2.
Yeah. Minions.
Yep.
And I would go ahead and cast those hallucinations.
We're running rope. I'd Alley
King.
Cat. We can Swamp King. Yeah. Either way.
We only
Yeah,
got one.
there was a lot to do. I like the Alley Cat because of Sherazin value. Because it's 1 mana and we can cast it with other things in the turn. The Swamp King was really good, but I don't think we get as much value out of it as we would with the Alley Cat. Just my thoughts. Question is, does he attack? Because I think he holds off his attack. So he goes face to test for explosive shot. He should have done that
Explosive
first.
trap,
He shouldn't have done that. Yeah.
Okay. So we could theoretically here Gadgetzan, prep, Mimic Pod, hallucination, and Alley Cat.
I think we start out by Gadgetzan prep in the Mimic Pod. I think that's a good starting line. Go ahead and start that.
Well, wait.
Oh, go ahead.
You have an alternate line?
Auctioneer is going to allow us to get a lot of value out of Sherazin, and he's going to have to take the Sherazin out, because that's going to be
That's
what
true.
takes out his.
So do we develop our shares in first?
I think we develop shares and go
We
ahead
need
and
to clear the
mimic
two
pod.
minions besides Jaime.
And go ahead and
I think-
mimic pod.
I think we shares them and
Alley
clear the
Cat.
two minions.
Okay.
Yep.
I wouldn't even cast Alley Cat. I think we shares and clear the two minions.
Yep. And do we mimic pod?
I would go ahead and mimic pod. I don't see any point as to why we wouldn't.
That'll give us two. I wouldn't alley cat.
yet.
I wouldn't alley cat.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, too late.
Oh, too late. Yeah. Basically, we're trying to develop as many cards we can cast in one turn for shares in.
Yeah.
Because he's probably going to pop that with his face. And this, of course, tests for. Oh, he doesn't pop the shares in.
No, he's got to clear both of them. If not, kindly grandmother just goes away. So I think he saves on the chance that it is snake trap.
Yeah, I think he's worried about Snake Trap, and he's obviously worried about. I'm not understanding a trade if he trades
I don't
into
think
one.
he knows what to do. I think
I think he's confused.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're very low on health.
There
So-
it is.
Yep.
He's gonna have to make a play eventually.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Can't use our face to clear anymore.
No. So, but what we can do is we can use Alley Cat to activate Conley, Sherazin to clear it.
Okay.
Okay. Now we lay Auctioneer. Now we prep. Phantom Knives.
I like the razor pedal.
And now Hallucination.
Oh wait, yeah, we're up to 3 already. Okay.
Snipe
And I would snipe.
and play it.
Yeah. I'd play it.
Yep. And then go face with everything else.
That'll allow us to, if he lays the high main, clear the high main with the tabby cat.
This also puts us on lethal.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
The thing is though, there's deadly shot, and we know one card's high main, so he can't lethal us this turn.
Oh, poor Alley Cat.
Yeah. So we've got 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15 with the SI7 agent.
We have to kill him this turn.
We got lethal.
Yeah.
Now I counterfeit coin into SI.
Yeah.
Or anything into SI. Backstab, whatever. The burst potential for this deck is pretty good. Considering it doesn't have Leroy combo.
That's very true. All right. One win down. Let's see what we get with the next one.
And your line's much better. I'm not as experienced with Rogue as you are, Versika, so your line was much better than mine. It was a really good call.
Well,
Spectator bug.
Versika
Yeah, I got it too.
is a rogue at heart.
That's right.
So we have another hunter. Our opening hand is Patches Preparation Razor Petal Lasher. So obviously we throw back Patches and Preparation. Do you think we keep the Razor Petal Lasher? It's 2 mana, 2/2, Battle Cry. Add a Razor Petal to your hand.
Against Hunter, I like it.
Yeah, I do
It's a
too.
2/2 body, and it clears a one health minion.
The only thing I'll actually love getting those on Mimic Pod.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right. So we draw
Me
into
too.
Eviscerate Van Cleef, and we top deck Swashbuckler. So we have
There you go.
we have a solid line on curve.
Yep.
Yep.
Swashbuckler into Tolvir
The Tolvir
again.
Warden. That is like
Oh,
candy.
2 games in a row. Turn 1 Tolvir Wardens.
Well, that's not bad. Well, this is just like last game.
Yeah. And our turn 2 should probably be pretty similar.
Oh, he's gonna coin something out.
Yeah. A Jewel
Jewel
Macaw.
McCall.
So if
Okay,
we
so-
hero power here, we can clear the board. If we play the Razor... Well, actually, we could play the Razor Petal Lasher and coin into the Razor Petal.
Takes away Van Cleef value, but I think that's a good line. But if we do that,
He's trying to find something. He's trying to find something to get Razor Maul value out of.
Yeah.
I would rather him put that value on a 1/1.
Okay. So you want to
So
let him get it off?
I think it's okay letting him get it off. I don't think we play Razor Petal.
Okay.
I think we hero power, clear 1 with patches, 1 with our face, and then go to face with the other one.
Okay.
so we're baiting out the buff.
Yes.
Okay.
And there it is.
There's a crackling. Probably gonna take spores. A health. Okay.
All right. So who is down for backstab, counterfeit coin, Van Cleef?
I like it. I mean, we waste a mana, but that's what, a 6/6 Van Cleef?
Yeah.
I mean, it's punished by deadly shot.
Yes.
So what do you think?
But make him use the deadly shot. Most of them only run 1 anyway.
Yeah. Do we take a value? Do we poke the tabby cat for value?
I don't see why we would.
Okay.
I don't either.
It doesn't get us any closer to where we need to be.
No, I think we just hold this charge a dagger and pass.
I
Yeah.
like it. I'm just exploring all the options.
No. You pretty much, if it was a 1/2, you absolutely take your shot at it.
Gotcha.
But with it being a 1/3, it doesn't really help us much. So
Well, the backstab's good.
So I think here we razor pedal,
Okay.
we backstab the juggler,
All day, every day.
we use the razor pedal and our face to clear the hungry crab, and then we send 6 to his face.
We're not worried about how Master buffing up Tabby Cat?
It only
We
make it
are, but he's
3,
just going to
4.
send it into Van Cleef.
Yeah.
So I'd rather have the 6 damage to face.
Okay. So he's going to do the trade.
Yeah.
Actually, he's not even going to make that trade.
No, he's going to let the Van Cleef stick.
He may not have the Houndmaster in hand.
Okay. So, do we Tolvir Warden here and just go face?
I think so. Tolvir's beefy.
Yeah. He's going to have to invest some minion into it.
Yeah.
Sheridan's not in a good spot because we don't have enough mana to revive it and has slow body.
And
So now he
he's
makes
got
the trade.
A lot of resources to get rid
Yep.
of.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my kingdom for a fan of knives.
No,
Oh, that'll work, though.
that's okay. Swashbuckler
Into SI7 agent,
into SI on the wolf,
into daggers.
into dagger to clear one of the alley cat,
Go face.
Yep.
and then go face with Tolvir.
And we got Princess Huharan, who's a 6'5" body.
Yep.
Unless we can get a high main off of That would be great if we get a high main off a hallucination.
Well, he just got a high main.
So this is
I think
where
we race.
Yeah, I think so too. I think you put out Sharazan and go ahead and hit him with an eviscerate and send everything to face and force him to have the answers.
Yeah. Because he can't have lethal out of 2 cards in his hand and a third drawn off 7 mana.
Yeah.
And we threaten lethal unless he finds a way to clear the board.
He has to clear the board this turn.
And he can't use his face, so the Eagle Horn Bow is useless. Yeah, and I think he might have just realized that he can't trade.
Blackhawk says he's going in chat says he's going to go out on a limb and say GG.
Well, he kill commanded, and then he just
Kills
super
himself.
boost.
Yep. All right, so
That was
there
a
you
good
go.
one. Like this deck.
2-0 with the post Ungoro Miracle Rogue. Guys, I'm telling you, this deck is a lot of fun to play. As you saw, there's just a lot of different lines you can take, but there's also a lot of different things the deck can do. It's just, I can't say how much fun it is just because it's so much fun. So, all right. Well, that brings us to our last thoughts on the play section. Versika, we'll start with you this time.
I love this deck. I've loved Miracle Rogue for a long time, but not necessarily the one-shot versions. I like the Miracle Rogue where you have to actually set your opponent up and force them to play off what you might play.
Like tempo, more tempo.
Right. I play my Miracle very much in the tempo vein instead of the OTK. So for me, this is always a deck that plays very well into my wheelhouse. So I always enjoy playing it. And like I said, this in the month of June, you're going to see a lot of Rogue out of me. So
Nice.
you know I like it.
Yeah. All right, Zeroshio.
I think I'm going to mirror that because I'm up to 302 wins on Rogue. It's one of my 2 classes I don't have as golden,
Now's
as well
the time.
as Hunter, and I think now's the time. Yeah, I think now's the time. I think June might be my Hunter and Rogue month. And I haven't found a Rogue deck that I like because I'm not a fan of Quest. And the old versions of Miracle just didn't appeal to me. This appeals to me. I love Giants. One of my favorite decks when Ungoro came out was Giants Quest Mage. And this makes me happy. I'm gonna play it. A lot of fun.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for us this week. If you have any questions or comments about the show, please email us at heropowerpodcast@gmail.com. Do us a favor, hit that subscribe button below on YouTube if you haven't done so already, or give us a follow on Twitch to be alerted when we go live. If you have any questions about what kind of value you can get from our Patreon, you can check that out at patreon.com/heropower.
And I'm going to interrupt you again. As usual. I want to make a special note that if you go to patreon.com/heropower and check it out, we set up a new goal. Our $150 goal is to introduce the Hero Power merchandise. It's been a big request from all of our patrons and people that have listened to the show. They want to be able to purchase Hero Power gear, t-shirts, things, mugs, things like that. Once we hit the $150 goal, we can start getting that rolling. So go over to patreon.com/heropower and consider, throw in $1 a month at us, or even $5 a month, so you can get into our quarterly Hero Power patron tournaments. And of course, any amount will get you into our Discord. So definitely consider that, because we would love to see Hero Power t-shirts everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Until next week, good gaming.
Bye, guys.